Let's see how we can modify the appearance of our cross-tabulation report by formatting it. Notice that right now we have decimal points within the number of orders, and that's not really appropriate. So I'm going to right-click this value and select Format field. We get our standard Format Editor dialog. Within it, I can, for example, change the number of decimals. Now, the only problem in doing this is that I only affected this one value. Now, of course, this one value appears in many places. But if I go over to the right, to the total, notice that it was unaffected. And if I go to the bottom and look at the grand totals, you'll see that they were unaffected as well. So actually, this is easier to perform in Design View, and I'll show you why. I'm going to return to Design View, and what I really want to do is grab all the occurrences of the order ID. So all the remaining occurrences of the order ID. I used my Control key to select all of them, and then I can right-click any one of them. I can format the objects as a group, and now going over to the Number tab, I can change the number of decimal points to 1 and click OK to accept this change for all of the selected objects. So now when I go back and preview to see the effect of my changes, you can see that all of the numbers were affected. Notice that we have an alignment problem. The reason we have an alignment problem is because the way that the negative numbers would appear for the currency versus the way that they would appear for the order ID. So although if we look in the cross-tabulation, you'll see that these line up perfectly, when we actually preview, they don't. So we're going to deal with this problem. I'm going to go to the Design tab, and I'm going to select this one additional order ID. Once I've done that, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to format these objects. I'm going to go over to the Number tab, and notice that negative numbers would display with a minus sign. And that's fine. I also want to double check that there's no currency symbol here, and there is no currency symbol. So I can go ahead and click OK without making any changes here. But on the other hand, I need to make the amount consistent. So I'm going to select all of the amounts. And I've decided that the amounts I want to have display with minus signs as well. Right now, if they were negative, they display with parentheses. So I'm going to right-click and format the objects. Now what I'm going to do is come over to the Number tab, and I want my negatives to display with a minus sign to be consistent. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now let's preview and see if this change was successful. And indeed it was, and everything lines up perfectly. Another really cool feature allows you to format the background color of rows, columns, or of totals. Let's take a look. I'm going to click to go back to the Design tab, and I'm going to right-click the cross-tabulation as a whole. And I'm going to opt to format the cross tab. Once I've gotten there, I'm going to click Advanced to go to a special Advanced dialog. This allows me to specify advanced cross-tab options. For example, for my row grand totals, I can make my row grand totals a particular color. I'm going to make my row grand totals for the background yellow, and I'm going to make my column grand totals lime. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. If I want, I can also change the background color of the particular rows. So I could select my customer name row, and I could select a background color for the rows, and I'm going to go with gray. Well, now that I've done that, I'm going to click OK. And you can see already things have changed here in Design View. But let's go back to preview the report. Notice that when I preview the report, that we can see that the customer name appears in gray, the totals for the customer appear in gray. If I scroll over to the right, we can see yellow for the totals for all of the employees, And if we go down to the bottom, notice that our grand totals, not for the customer, but our grand totals appear in the lime green. So we affected the customer information, we affected the grand totals for the columns, and the grand total for the rows. We changed the color to customize each of them. One more thing I want to show you before we finish with cross tabulations is let's go back to Design tab. Right-click to select the cross tabulation, and one more time visit that Format Crosstab dialog, but particularly look at the Advanced options. Clicking Advanced, I'm going to suppress the column grand totals. Let's click OK and see how this affects us. I'm going to click OK again and go back to Preview, and when we preview, notice that the column grand totals are now suppressed. We still have our row grand totals, but we do not have our column grand totals. If I want them back, I need to remove the suppress for the column grand totals. And now they're going to appear again. Let's save our work. You just learned a ton about working with cross tabulations in Crystal Report 7. I hope you agree that cross tabulations are extremely powerful and valuable. You learned how to build a cross tabulation both with and without the use of an expert. You learned how to modify the data that's included in your cross tabulation, and finally, how to format your cross tabulation reports.